Hi everyone, welcome back and a happy new year to you all. I hope you're all doing very well out there, and I hope you've had a fantastic Christmas and a fantastic new year as well. New year, new beginnings. I hope you've all made new plans for this new year coming up, all your new goals, etc. A new year of painting, lots more tutorials. Please God, this year I get a lot of outdoor tutorials done for my channel. I'm really itching to get outdoors, but there's just the weather is so unforgiving here in Ireland. It's very difficult to get the proper conditions to do painting outside. It's either too cloudy, or it's too windy, or it's raining, or the light is just not right. It's just very difficult to get the proper conditions. But I think I'll just bite the bullet in future and just go out there regardless of the weather, and just set up and do a bit of painting. So yes, we're in lockdown again here in Ireland, full lockdown again until the end of January. So I've lots of supplies to keep us going, to keep us all happy. This painting, my first painting for 2021, is going to be something dramatic, and I've wanted to paint this for such a long time. It is a tornado, so a very violent sky with a tornado coming down out of the sky on land. Okay, lots of deep colours and lots of strong clouds. This would make a quite nice sky tutorial actually. So if you want to practice doing skies, dramatic skies, don't go anywhere, okay? I'll be right back, you're going to like this. Okay, here we go. 16 by 20 canvas, and I did use this for something previously, but I kind of stopped halfway through and I primed over what I had. It was kind of a bit of a landscape I was doing, but I didn't like it, so I cleaned it with some turpentine and I primed this again. So you can see some little marks there, but it's fine. It shouldn't stop us from painting this. Okay, there's the photograph. Now look at that. Isn't that just dramatic? I think this would make an absolutely beautiful tutorial. It could be a little tricky. In fact, I know it will be a little tricky trying to get some of those colours to blend. But let's have a go and see what we can do, okay? I'm going to use a large stubby brush, a soft synthetic stubby brush, okay? If you're interested in these, just let me know, okay? Look, I have loads of them. Short, medium, small, medium and large, okay? I have a little turpentine, just a tiny amount is all I need. And I'm going to start, I think I'm going to start with the very bright colour, okay? I'm going to dampen this. I'll tell you what colours I have. Titanium white, Naples yellow, cadmium yellow pale, cadmium yellow deep. I have a little black, some burnt sienna, some burnt umber, some phaylo blue and crimson. I may not need all of these, but they're there just in case I do. Okay? Excuse me. Now, I'll dampen my brush and I'm going to start with very bright yellow down here. I'm going to try, I can see there's some cadmium yellow pale with white anyway, definitely, I do see that. But it's not that bright, I'm not sure. I might take a little Naples just to sort of push it back a little. Now I'm taking tiny amounts of turpentine in this as I need it, okay? And in my turpentine I have some linseed oil as well, just a tiny drop of linseed oil. That just helps, when you're painting, it just helps the colours kind of flow around on the paint, or on the canvas. It helps the paint flow nicely. The oil just helps that to work a little bit better. I'm going to come down to about there. That's what the dark horizon line is. I'm going to go over to around here. Okay, now let me just fill this in. It's quite wet now as well. It's not very thick. It's kind of difficult to describe. Now I'm taking just white and I'm popping a little white in there. So I just want to have a bit of fun with this tutorial. Lots of dramatic colours in the sky, all that kind of stuff. Let's just have a bit of fun. So I think that's okay for now. I can brighten it with more white later. So I'm going to leave this sit because I could be here all night adding more and more white into this. But the white will just sort of soften into the colour I have. So I want to leave that sit for a while. Kind of almost soak into the canvas, grip the canvas, and then I can put white in later. Now we have a nice kind of darker colour. In fact, it softens into a slightly warmer colour over here, and it's a very kind of a strange colour. I'm going to try cadmium yellow, okay, and I'm going to try a little sienna. I'm just kind of trying this now. I don't know if this is going to be right or not. Now, of course, it does not have to be exact, but I do want it to get some resemblance there. I'll take more cadmium yellow, more burnt sienna, and you know what? I might take a hint. I might try a hint of brown, burnt umber, just to kind of dim it down very, very slightly. Okay, that's all I want to do. I want to create lovely kind of misty effects in the sky as well. Now, I only primed my canvas once. It is kind of still quite dry, to be honest, but that's good because we can get lots of lovely rich textures on the sky. Now, as it comes up, there's a very big problem now that we have in this sky, okay, and this is something that we can really learn from. It's going from a yellow into a kind of a blue. Now, we don't want too much green in this. If you mix yellow with blue, you're going to end up with a lot of green going through the canvas. I want to try and figure out a way of softening yellows into blues without going too green. Now, granted, there will be a little bit, but I want to try and minimize that. So I'm just thinking now, I'm just thinking to myself, what I'm going to do first is, something just popped into my head. And what it is, I'm going to just draw the outline of the twister that we have here. I want to draw the outline of that just very, very, just loosely. I'm going to draw it where the clouds are kind of coming around because I want to kind of keep these separate. I don't want to paint over all of this too much. I just want to kind of keep where it's coming. So it comes down like that, doesn't it? It kind of comes down like that and then it goes down like that, okay? I just want to sort of get the direction of the cloud just very, very loosely, that's all. Okay, comes out like that. No, that's fine, that's all I wanted to do. Okay, so I'm going to start darkening now this into a blue. And this is going to be tricky. I know this is going to be tricky, I really do. So I'm going to take Naples yellow into this mix I have here with some burnt umber. A little bit more burnt umber. I'm going to keep going until I feel I have the mix that I want. And I'm going to add plenty of white into this as well, because the white will give it that kind of opaque, soft feeling. Now a little amount of black. So it's going sort of into a muddy kind of a muddy yellow. You can see that. Let's just come over here a little into that. Okay. Now I want to soften this muddy kind of a colour I have down in here, look, okay? There we go. And softening it across. It tends to go more of a greeny shade over here, doesn't it? So I'll take a hint of black and a hint more cadmium yellow. That's going to give me a grey kind of a greeny colour. I'm happy enough with that. I think that's okay. We might get away with this. What I just want to avoid is too many greens. I don't want too many green colours kind of on the canvas in the sky. I want to try and keep this as natural looking as possible. Now, we go from a green here to a blue, don't we? We have lots of dark blues up here. So I'm going to give this a quick dip in my turpentine and give it a good rub on my tissue, just to take most of my yellow out. You don't need to completely clean it. So let's go from this colour now up into a grey kind of a blue, alright? Let's try some lamp black and a little turpentine in that. Let's take some phaylo blue. I have phaylo blue, that's the blue I use because it's a very natural blue. Little white, and you don't want this too thick. I don't make these too thick initially. I make them quite thin, you see, and then that way I can build on thicker layers and thicker layers. Let's take a little bit of white as it comes down, and I'm going to soften it into this colour here, look. Now, when it's been softened, what I mean is, I'm going to very gently soften it like this, look, just where they meet, you see? Just in little circles. You can also use a blender brush for this if you like. I'll go right across now, and I'm imagining that the twister is not there at all, okay? So just forget about the twister. Let's go right across all the way, Okay, again, I'll come along like this. And the sky is all kind of, it's very rough, isn't it? So I'm not being too perfect with all of this. Look, I'm going up and down slightly, allowing the brush to just kind of dance around here and there on the canvas. Now I will soften this as well with a kind of a blender brush in a moment, but we don't have to do it right now. I'll come down into this just a little there, look, okay? And the good thing about this canvas is that because it's only primed once, it's only a cheap canvas. It's still kind of quite dry, so it's kind of soaking in the paint ever so slightly. But that's a good thing. Now I have my soft blender brush here. I'm just going to very loosely soften some of these into that colour there, okay? Now that will do for now. Again, I'll dampen my brush and I'll come up now and fill in this area up here, yes? And this is going to be a nice rich painting, I can tell. It's going to be really nice. I'll take some phaylo blue and a little lamp black. And as it comes up now, I'm going to add a lot more blue into this. I'll take a hint of white. And that white again will just lighten it, but make it more opaque. Okay. Now let me try this. Now I like that colour. Look, nice rich colour. Isn't that lovely? I'm just going to fill the canvas in up here with this colour. Again, it's quite a thin mix. There's not a lot of paint on the brush. I'm kind of just scraping it across the canvas, spreading it about as best as I can, okay? There we are. And I'll follow that across. I think actually, yes, I'm going to follow that across. The thing about painting skies like this is that you're kind of changing things as you go. There's no exact way of doing this kind of a sky. I don't think so anyway. You know, each individual artist will interpret this in their own way, and each artist will have their own style. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say this is exactly how to do it, because it's not. This is how I do it. If you have a different kind of a style or a different way of doing this, then excellent. You do that, and I hope it works for you. This may not even work for me. It may just go completely pear-shaped. I don't know. That's the beauty of painting. We just don't know how it's going to work, do we? Now, let's up there like that. Okay. And I'm basically I'm imagining that this tornado is not there. I'm just going across my sky now with my colour first. With this medium kind of a bluey black kind of a colour, okay? So I'm just filling in all the way across the top of the canvas with this colour. It does get quite light over here, so I'll just lighten it slightly. And another thing is, really, especially for beginners, when you're doing this, try to block out all the detail, okay? Try to imagine that all those darks and lights are not there. Just concentrate on a kind of a medium shade of the colour that you see. So if you see a lot of dark greys and a lot of light greys in the sky, or wherever, in trees or something, try to pick out the middle shade, and I'll put that shade on first. Then you work your darks and your lights into that. Does that make sense? Tell me if it doesn't now, and I'll try to explain as best I can. But that's the process that I use. I find that for beginners is the easiest process, rather than going along and trying to add in a little dark and add in a little light. I know a lot of beginners will try to make it seem perfect the first time, and it just doesn't work, you know what I mean? Try to kind of simplify it as best you can, because if you try and pick out every single detail the first time and try to make it look exactly the same, it's just not going to work. It's just, number one, it's too much work. It'll be impossible to get it just exactly the same. And number two, you will get frustrated because it's not the same. So rather than trying to get it exactly the same like that, just have a bit of fun, you know? Just get used to your brush, get used to the canvas, how it feels, that kind of thing. Okay, enough of me blabbering on. I'm going to bring this down into that lovely yellow now, okay? So I'm going to take, let me see, I'll say a little bit of black and a little bit of cadmium yellow. That'll give me a very darkish kind of a green. Let's take a little bit of white now and put into that. Okay. Then I'll take a little bit of that blue, you see. So we end up with a kind of a muddy bluey green, look. There we go. And let me just soften that. It really does soften down in here, doesn't it? So I'm going to dry my brush now, and I'm going to take a little more of the cadmium yellow in this and some of the naples. So it's really going from that greeny blue into a kind of a yellowy tone, isn't it? But it's a bit of a dark colour as well. I might try some sienna with a little cadmium yellow. And let me try that down here. There, you see, that's not bad though, because the sienna is knocking back that blue. It's knocking out the bluey tones and the green. So that's a nice little colour there now. I like that. And my canvas is starting to dry here. It's not dry, you know, it's not completely dry, you see, but it's tacky, so the colour is not sort of blending as much as I would like it to blend. So I think the only way out of this is to use our fingers. And let's soften this in here, look, let's try and soften it in. And the fingers are fantastic tools for smudging colours and getting colours to mix together and all that kind of thing. You can get some fantastic effects just with your fingertip. You don't need special brushes for all of this. You see? Look at that. Look at that. That's wonderful. I like that. Now, so I'm going to just fill in this last piece of the sky here, okay? So just bear with me now for a moment. I'll take some black. And I can see a lot of swirls coming around here. So I'll just use this dark bluey black to just kind of fill in the swirls here, just very, very roughly. So we have the basic colours in our sky. Would you agree? The basic kind of foundation for the sky is done. Now I'm going to start adding some lighter colours. I'll just top up my turpentine here because it's gone. So a little drop of turpentine. And what I'm going to do is, I think I'll start with some of the darker shades. So let's get some nice dark cloud up there. Now, dampen my brush. I'll take some black and some phaylo blue. And lots of phaylo blue, okay? We have a very, very rich dark bluey colour here now. And I'm going to go up here and start creating some cloud. And when I say creating some cloud, all I mean is I'm creating some movement in the sky, that's all. I'm not painting actual clouds, and I'm not trying to imagine that they're actual cloud. I'm just trying to sort of create some dramatic movement in the sky, because it's a tornado and you're going to have lots of cloud moving around in the sky, isn't that right? So let's just have a bit of fun with this now, look. And we soften it in then here and there as well. I might add a little bit of burnt umber on my brush, because I can see there's this kind of darky colour swirling around inside here, look, swirling around. It's sort of coming down, swirling around in there. I'm going to take a hint of sienna, actually, and the hint of sienna will warm it slightly. Look, you see, I'm just going kind of around in circles, and I'm just kind of softening colours around as they come in here to the centre. I do see a very warm colour under there. That's really nice. I like that colour. So I might try and get some of that colour in. Let's try some burnt sienna, some burnt umber, and a tiny hint of cadmium yellow. No, that's not right. Let's take a hint of black into this. And maybe a hint of cadmium yellow, or Naples yellow, my apologies. I'm kind of mixing this and messing around with colours. Another hint of cadmium yellow. Okay, that's not bad. I'll pop a little amount of that muddy kind of a colour in there, let it soften over here, let it soften up, and then as it comes over, I'm going to add more Naples into it to lighten it slightly. So now we've got lovely rich colour going along there, just underneath that tornado. I want to leave this light here so that the tornado, the very dark tornado, comes down so it really stands out. That's the plan anyway. Let's hope that works out. Now up here you can see we have lots of lovely violent looking cloud. Let's just move them around with our fingers, look, in circular motions, and we're creating this lovely rich turbulent kind of a sky up there. You see, you can use a brush for this if you like as well, but I found lately that using the fingers is a fantastic tool for creating these lovely rough kind of shapes up in the sky. I'm going to put some more dark over here, so let me just dampen my brush again. I'll take some black, some phaylo blue, and I'll come up here now. I think there's a hint of green on my brush, so I'm just going to give my brush a quick clean, okay? So a good rub on some tissue, and then I'll pick up some more blue into that mix, and I'll come up here, and there's some lovely... The thing about this now is I'm going to start creating the swirl of the tornado, kind of pulling the clouds around. That's my next job, as they say. So look, I'm going to go along here and I'm going to pull this colour kind of down, and everything seems to be pulling down into this point in here, doesn't it? So I'm going to kind of just pull some colour around and down into this central point here, okay? And on the outside here, I'm just going to kind of soften it down into the colour here, okay? Isn't that lovely? Look at that. We already have the movement of that sky coming down. Okay, I'm going to put some dark up here. I can see a very rich kind of a shape up here, very nice rich dark colour. I'm going to put some blue on my brush and just sort of flick some blue down like that, and another little bit here and there. I'm going to kind of soften it around. Then I'll take a hint of black, just a hint of black on its own now, nothing else, and I'll put a little hint of black through that as well. Okay, I'm going to take some more black actually, and I'm going to add a couple of darker shades around over here and there. Then I'm going to start pulling some of the dark shapes in like this, and then I'll pull them around my finger, look, and then soften out them with your finger. Does that make a bit of sense? So I'm just adding some darker shades in the cloud. It's always going to be a lot more turbulent right in by the tornado, by the twister, isn't it? So let me just soften some of these out here. Okay, just showing some cloud closer to the tornado, getting kind of quite rough and quite violent. Then we're going to start, let me see, some nice bright colour, okay? Again, I'll dip my brush in some turpentine and give it a wipe on some tissue. And I'm doing this now with the same brush, okay? All the same brush. Take some white with some phaylo blue. That gives us a nice rich bright kind of a blue. And we have some nice light coming sort of down, and it turns, doesn't it? Kind of turns in. And I'm just going to kind of sort of let this almost disappear off up into that darkness, you see, like so. I'm going to soften this out, and pull that around with your finger again. Let's go up here and soften this out, just going around the circles with my finger, that's all, kind of catching some light up in that sky. Isn't that wonderful? It's just really kind of coming to life now, isn't it? And I might even add a bit more brightness to that for some more dramatic effect. I'll take some more white and some phaylo blue, just a little amount, look, just on the tip of my brush, you see? And I'll come along and pop some of that in just like that. And then I'll let that sort of dance off off up into the sky, okay? Isn't that lovely? Look at that. Lovely soft effects that we have. Okay, now, I have a little bit of a light colour on my brush. I'm going to just dry it slightly and I'm going to put a tiny amount of it on my brush. What I'm going to do is just start adding perhaps a couple of lights here and there to some of the cloud. Look, you could add a little bit to some of it down here, or just up in that corner rather. Pop maybe a little one or two around here and there, just to give them a little bit of light. Okay, let's just soften some of them off. And you can do as much or as little of this as you like, okay? It's your painting. It's completely, entirely up to you what you want to do with this. I take a bit of light and I pop a little bit of light around here and there. It's getting quite swirly around in the middle here. Okay, so just kind of soften them out. And what I might do then is I might switch to a slightly smaller brush. I'm thinking my small stubby, and I'm going to pick up some of this lighter colour. I'm going to make a kind of a greeny sort of a grey colour. I'm going to take some black, some phaylo blue, a little hint of Naples yellow, and keep taking as much of Naples yellow as you like into this until you have the colour you like, okay? That's all you have to do. I'm happy enough with this. It's kind of a grey, it's a lighter kind of a shade, and just above some of the black, look, I'm going to pop some of that in and then bring it around and down, okay? Down right into that twister. And we have another bit. This is the actual twister that I'm painting here now. I must mix a good bit of that colour because that's a nice colour. I like that. So I'm going to mix a lot of that colour. We're going to need it. Some white, some Naples yellow, and some of the phaylo blue with a little hint of the black. I think that's the mix. Is quite a nice colour. It's not too rich. It's a very opaque kind of a grey, kind of a green colour. So let's just now put in some of these kind of clouds that are swirling around here, okay? And I'm just going to kind of go like that, and go around like that. I'm just basically creating the shape of this violent kind of a twister coming around. Okay, stops then, it kind of disappears into that sky, doesn't it? And we'll do the same up here, just a couple, and soften them up like that, you see? Now we'll work on some darks again, don't worry. Okay, let's come down here and put some of this colour along into this. And as I said, they all kind of come into a dark point in here. It's quite dark in here actually, so I might darken that a little bit in a moment. First, I want to concentrate on just getting this twister, kind of the basic shape of this twister here. I'm just going to fill this in, coming down like that. Now, I'm going to clean that brush for a moment and just take some black with a hint of burnt umber, okay? And I want to just put some of that darker colour just to separate the actual twister from the clouds above it. That makes sense? Okay, and then it starts getting darker, doesn't it? As it comes down, it gets really kind of dark. And there's a lot more burnt umber, a little hint of sienna in this as it comes down. It turns in, because the colour of this yellow is kind of showing through. So as it comes down, it changes into that kind of colour, doesn't it? And I'm going to make mine a little bit thicker than it is on the photograph, just to give it a bit more impact, do you know what I mean? That's all. And I'm going to mix that colour in there. Okay, and let me just dampen my brush a little, just to help the paint flow. I'll take a little black, a little burnt umber, and it's going to go really dark now as it comes down, isn't it? I'm going to be careful with this now, and let me just put this in like that. Okay. And the same over on this side. It's going to come down, and it's going to go really thin as it hits the land. Okay. Now, how is that so far? Now, what I'm going to do is move it to another brush. Let me have a look at my jar of brushes that I have here. I'll go with a medium, kind of a flat, a dry brush. I'm going to take some of the black and burnt umber, and I'm going to start creating some texture on this, okay? Without messing that line up. I want to leave that line, okay? So I'm just going to take, basically, let's take some black, little burnt umber, and I want to just kind of darken this. Would you like me to zoom in slightly, or are you happy to watch it from there? I think I should, will I zoom in slightly? Okay, how's that? So I'm going to go up there now. I'll take some burnt umber with a hint of cadmium yellow. It's not a brown I'm after, it's kind of this greeny grey kind of a colour. And I'm just going to go up there and soften that into that colour above it, okay? There we go, you see, I'm softening it very gently up. Alright, just like that. And I want to take a bit more of the black and create, just make it slightly darker around there. And a little bit darker just around the center of the body of the tornado here. Okay, I'm very gently kind of manipulating the paint now in such a way that I get a certain shape with the paint. Does that make sense? I want to darken it here as well. It's quite dark in there, isn't it? I'm going to take a little hint of black and a hint of burnt umber, and I'm going to just really go to town on this. In fact, I'll take a hint of sienna, look, as well. Okay? To complement that yellow in there. Okay, just like that. Take some more sienna with a little hint of cadmium yellow there as well. So that'll give us a slightly warmer colour for this down here. I'm going to soften that down with my finger. Just kind of manipulating this paint now, just to kind of get it to do what I want it to do. That's all, okay? Darken it down in here. A little bit more black, I think. It's quite blacky, isn't it? Alright, now I'm going to take a little bit more black again, and I'm going to darken the tornado just kind of on one side here. You could let this dry as well now. If you find that your painting is getting a little bit messy, you could just leave this dry and come back to it at a later stage, you know, by all means. Now I'm going to take a small brush, and it needs to be a kind of a flat brush. Let me just take a look at what I have here. Lots of different sizes, thin ones, thick ones. I have a nice little one here, a flat one, look, all soft and synthetic, okay? I'm going to just take another lighter colour, a little bit of phaylo blue with white. That's a bit much now, isn't it? So let me just wipe my brush there. Phaylo blue with white and a little hint of black. And I'm going to just create a bit more definition with some of the outlines here, okay? This one. just to kind of help separate the body of the tornado from the rest of the sky. Does that make sense? A little bit out here. Again, I don't want to kind of lose my darks, but I want to create the illusion of these clouds kind of being pulled around. Does that make sense? It's tricky enough in itself, I suppose, to get this dramatic kind of feeling in the sky. Let's go further out and create this little piece coming down, and then in at the bottom like that. Okay, now I'll soften some of these out. And you see, you can interpret this whichever way you like, okay? It's your painting completely. Completely your painting. I might get a little bit of light going down here and there. And soften it in slightly. So I'm softening it in, but not completely. Does that make sense? Now I want to give this tornado a little bit of light on one side, and I'm going to take some Naples yellow, a little white, my little sienna, and a little cadmium yellow. Now it's not in the photograph, but I feel giving it a little hint of light colour here and there will allow that sunny colour to show through, almost show through the clouds, if you will. Just a hint, does that make sense? And then at the bottom here, I want to create that tornado kind of kicking up the dust. Okay, I'm taking a very dry brush with some of this dark browny grey colour, and I'm simply going to just flick it around in circles. And go right through the middle of it, and the same on this side, look. And I'm kind of flicking it upwards into the sky. Does that make sense? So the bottom of the tornado then just disappears onto the floor. Now, with a clean finger, very, very clean finger, let's just soften that out. Okay? Create a bit of a dust. I think that's even just enough now, isn't it? So it's pulling everything up into the sky. Now we could go a bit darker, I feel. I can see it's kind of maybe a hint darker here and there. Okay, so let's just go like that. And right in the middle it's quite dark, isn't it? It just comes down and it kind of comes out like this on both sides. Now let's just soften all of this up into the nice bright yellowy sunlit sky. You can do loads of this if you like, it's completely up to yourself. Okay, I'll leave it like that for now, and I'll just do this ground here, okay? I'll clean my large brush. How are we doing for time? 37 minutes, you see? 37 minutes and we've all this done already. Isn't this just amazing? Let's go with sienna. Lots of turpentine, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and a hint of black. Okay, let's try that. Now again, I'm kind of looking at the medium colour in this. I will darken it as I go, or I will lighten it as I go, if I feel it needs it. But I just want to cover it first with this shade, okay? In fact, we can go darker, can't we? Let's just take plenty of black into that mix there, look. And pop plenty of black in there. I'll take a hint of Naples yellow for this side up here, because I want to soften this into the kind of sky off in the distance, okay? And what I'm going to do is just kind of pull my finger along where they meet, okay? Left and right, and kind of let them sort of soften into each other, okay? There. Just creating a little bit of mist off in that distance. And we'll work on that, okay? So let's just get all of this nice colour covered in here. Black, I even see a hint of cadmium yellow deep in this as well. There's a hint of a kind of a browny green going on. Okay, mixed up a bit more. Let's say cadmium yellow, burnt sienna. And let's go with that for this distance off here. I'm going to switch brushes. I am going to switch to a slightly smaller flat brush, something nice and soft, okay? Something like this. And I'm going to start just darkening some of the colours here and there. So for instance, I can see kind of a dark spot along there. So I'm going to pop some dark colour, some burnt umber and some black. Let's pop that in there. Okay, and then I'm going to soften it up and over to the right here, okay? Let that soften away. And I'll pop an extra little bit of that dark colour in just here and there, off in the distance. I don't want to give the distant mountain, the distant field too much detail, but rather just kind of some light and darks. Does that make sense? Because they're very far away. I could use a fan brush on this, but I'd rather just kind of soften some dark colour through it here and there. Then I can get my fan brush, you see, and create some lighter colours. So let's get the fan brush. In fact, I'm going to take this here, look, and I'm going to soften it up a little bit. I think that will give a nice effect. Okay, what do you think of that? Okay, fan brush. Let me get a nice fan brush. A nice new fan brush, okay? Let's take some. I'll go with some dark colour first. I'm going to start with some dark colour down here. I'm thinking just black, lots of turpentine, some burnt sienna. Let's just try that. So I'm going to go along and pop that in here. Let's even go along side to side, look, just for now, and you'll see what I'm going to do. Okay, some more burnt umber. And as it comes up, I'm going to start lightening this colour slightly, okay? I need more burnt sienna on my palette. Let's get some burnt sienna. I don't want to be showing you my ball patch on my head, so I'm ducking under the camera out of the way. Now, some burnt sienna into this as it comes up. And my goal really, all I'm trying to do is just to create some texture on the canvas, that's all. That's all I'm trying to do. I want to create some nice texture on this canvas. So the fan brush is probably the easiest, it's probably the simplest way of creating texture like this. So I'm going up here now. I took some cadmium yellow deep with a little Naples yellow in this mix, and you see where they meet the dark, I'm going to put a nice ridge of light just across there, okay? And leave it go off over here then. And then soften that down into this lovely dark colour. Okay, does that make sense? So we have that nice rich sienna underneath then, you see, warming all of this up. So you could just keep going along like this now, if you wish. I mean, it's your painting, you can do whatever you like. If you want to put like grasses and stuff into it, by all means, please do. Feel free to kind of use whatever techniques that you like. It is your painting. Am I right? I'm just conscious of time, you see, with tutorials like this, especially when I'm doing very long, well not long, but when I'm doing an entire painting from start to finish, I have to be aware that time could run out on the camera. So I just need to kind of use quick techniques. This is what I would do anyhow, but you know, I would kind of take my time, I suppose. I would take a lot more time doing it. But this is just a nice easy way of getting some nice texture onto your canvas, okay? Especially for grass, that kind of thing. Now, how are we looking? That's not too bad so far, is it? I'm going to go now slightly brighter. I'm going to get some cadmium yellow deep, and a little hint of white, and a little hint of sienna. Now it's a bit much sienna, bit more white, and I want to just give a nice strong separation of colour just here and there of that ridge where they kind of separate. The fields kind of separate there, don't they? And my fan brush is not kind of really coming to a point like I normally would want it to. It's very kind of rough, but if you have a fan brush which is nice and flat and thin, that's perfect for this. That's what you want, okay? So I'm just going to create some light kind of coming down on the grass here and there, okay? And it's going to disappear into the darker colour then, down here. There. Now, what I'm going to do then is, let me just add a little hint more white into this. I'm going to maybe give it a couple of flicks up here and there, look. As the sunlight catches some of the grass, just here and there. Little flick. It won't do any harm, will it? And look at that. So we've done this now very, very simply. Very, very simply. Isn't that lovely? Let me see now, what could we add to this? Is there anything you feel now you would like to add to this? I don't think there is, really. I'll take a hint of white with Naples yellow, perhaps. And maybe just go along, just along that edge there, just to define it just a little bit more. Create one or two little more highlights of grass. And I think perhaps a little bird. How about a little bird? Not that there's going to be birds in the sky with a tornado like this, but let's put one or two little crows flying away from the tornado, okay? This will give the painting just a little bit of life. And one more. And they're flying off from this tornado. So there we are, my friends. That is about the size of that. Now I made a little mistake there. There's a little bit of splatter from the fan brush just there. Okay, so I want to get that out. I'm going to just use a dry kind of a brush to get that out, and then I will take a little hint of Naples yellow, perhaps with white, just to clean that up, because it sort of spoils the painting, doesn't it, when you have a tiny amount of colour. Let me just get a small little round brush, little Naples yellow with white, and just sort of soften that in. There, see? Fixed. And one last thing I must do is give it a quick sign, because a painting is never finished unless it's signed. Am I right? Just a quick one. I'll fix it another time. And there we are. Let me zoom in and show you what we have created. There we are, look at that. Now of course you can play around with the colours yourself if you like. You know, it's entirely up to yourself. But there we are. A tornado in the sky. Isn't that wonderful? But I will kind of work away on this a little. But I think in general, it's very nice. It's turned out lovely. I'm very, very happy with this. So there we are, my friends. Thank you so much. Let me fix this camera here. I hope that's been nice for you. I hope you've got some hints and tips and something that you can try and make it your own. I hope you've enjoyed it. I really do. My apologies if I haven't shown you some of the foreground down here with the fan brush. I completely forgot that the camera was zoomed in slightly. I do sincerely apologise. I'll make sure it's right the next time. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, email me at stephenconwayart@gmail.com if you have any questions whatsoever. If you want to support me, pop over to Patreon. There's lots more videos over there for you to try. Lovely paintings. So Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much. And one more thing, Janelle, who's a very big fan of mine and a close friend as well, sent me these for Christmas. Let me see if I can show you these now. Janelle sent me all of these for Christmas as a gift. What do you think of that? I've just dropped one, my apologies. They're from Rosemary and Co. Can you see that? And they're absolutely beautiful brushes. Some synthetics, some bristles. I'm very excited about this one right here. It's a sword brush. This is going to be very interesting to use for trees and grasses, that kind of thing. So she sent me these for Christmas and I'm so happy. I really look forward to using these in my next painting. So Janelle, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it, and happy Christmas and Happy New Year to you as well. I sincerely thank you. So try this and let me know what you think, everyone. Thank you again, and I will see you very soon next week. Thank you very much and God bless. Happy painting!